everybody, I am Eric Casey. How's it going? Christian once again asked me to join his Star Wars review. So here I am once again, and today we're talking about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Oh boy. I mean... What the... Christian?
Eric, you fat bitch. What do you think you're doing? This is my goddamn review. Now shut your sloppy little mouth and sit on that couch, or I'm gonna kill you and your entire fucking family. You can open your mouth now. I mean, and actually talk.
Oh, okay. Hey everybody, I am Eric Casey.
And we are reviewing a film. We are reviewing Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Which I guess you would say is the fourth film of the Star Wars franchise, unless you count those Ewok movies that came out. And it acts as a prequel to the original film. Or, well, it's the first of three prequels that Lucas would eventually make. Mm-hmm. And it's very maligned by a lot of fans of the original trilogy. What do you think of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
It's horrible. Like I mentioned in the the previous reviews I've jumped on with the cameos and everything, is that the Star Wars movies have been talked about a lot on YouTube and on the internet and everything. Reviews like Nostalgia Critic, Mr. Plinkett and everything. A lot has been said about them. And I pretty much echo the same opinions. Like the Phantom Menace and this prequel trilogy is bad. They are bad movies, but there's still something about them where I feel like you still kind of get that nostalgia feel for them for some reason. It's weird. It's really a weird emotion that I can't really describe.
I don't. I mean,
Okay.
I'll admit right up front that I did like this when I was a little kid.
Same.
But I rewatched it again not too long ago, and no joke, when I rewatched it again, it had probably been maybe 13 years since I've actually seen the movie. Mm-hmm. And rewatching it again, I was like, this isn't that... Oh, no, it's that fucking bad. Pretty much once that thing came on the screen, I was like, yeah, there's a reason this movie's considered to be...
Muy, what thing are you talking about?
We are going home! Like, Jar Jar Binks is one of the most miscalculated things I've ever seen. Like, the fact that Lucas thought that was a good idea should prove to you that Lucas... The original Star Wars being as good as it is was probably a fluke.
I wouldn't say it's a fluke. I think it's just a lot of... It was just the original trilogy was like a perfect storm. The right people at the right time. And George Lucas, in my opinion, he's not the best storyteller. In fact, he's a very generic storyteller, in my opinion. I've seen his other movies like THX 11...
THX 1138.
That and
American
Graffiti. I've seen both those movies, and like THX was interesting, and American Graffiti was good. I mean, it's just like there's just... Again, I just can't really describe it, but like THX was like an interesting experimental movie, and American Graffiti kind of felt like Dazed and Confused, like one of those type of movies. But there was something about it where it's like, it was a good idea. And pretty much that's where I'm getting at. Like, George Lucas to me is a really good ideas guy.
Yeah, he's not a good execution person.
No, I would even disagree with that. He's a good execution in ideas. It's building the story around those ideas is where he flops, in my opinion. The actual storytelling part of it, you know?
Okay.
He's good at pointing his finger at a thing and saying, make me this thing that I just came up with off the top of my head. That's Lucas. He's a good producer, but he's not a good writer.
But basically the whole purpose of this prequel trilogy is to sort of explain how the Empire came to be and explain how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these movies don't explain it in a good way.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people whine and moan and bitch about the politics of this movie, but to be honest, though, I feel like the politics were necessary because the whole point of this trilogy is to talk about how the Empire came to be, and you need some kind of politics in there in order to give you a reason for why it came to be. But the issue with this movie is the way it was done sucked.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% because pretty much the politics stuff was necessary, and I think it was actually, it was essential to the plot and everything. But I felt like the politics part really dragged out way too long in these movies. Because the original movies are pretty much, an adventure and action and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where this is it kind of takes, like, they throw a whole bunch of action scenes at you, and then the pacing just slows and stops because of talking, especially in the prequel movies.
Yeah.
Because you can kind of get the general politics from the original trilogy just by the visuals. The opening shot of A New Hope perfectly captures the politics, technically, in the original trilogy, which is Empire is massively powerful, rebels are very ill-equipped and small. There's your politics explanation, and it didn't even explain it in a single word, And then these movies, it just explains everything. Everything.
And then, like, the characters in the movie, like, okay, you have this little kid who's going to become Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You think this kid would have... There would be something to this kid where it's like, holy shit, like, this is going to be our major antagonist later on in this storyline, and you think there would be something going on with this kid where, like, even if he's a good kid, there's
something off about him?
There's nothing to Jake Lloyd's performance where you can say, holy shit, this is going to become Darth Vader. There's nothing to it.
No, I completely agree 100%. Like, I even mentioned it before we started recording and everything. It's like 90% of the Phantom Menace, and part of the problem with it is that 90% of the movie just doesn't need to happen, really.
Yeah, no, it's... I was thinking about this a lot when I was rewatching this prequel trilogy, and I was actually thinking, and you mentioned this to me yourself, but I essentially think the story for Attack of the Clones should have been the first one in the trilogy. Revenge of the Sith should have more or less been the second one, and then the third one should have been, like, just something, like, taken off of Revenge of the Sith, like, maybe expand Revenge of the Sith, because you did not need to see Vader as a little boy.
Yeah.
Something that I actually thought would have been really cool. Remember the first X-Men movie where you see a young Magneto during the Holocaust and his mother's being taken away from him? And
That's a long time ago. I don't remember.
Okay, well, in the first...
But okay.
In the first
I get what you're saying, though.
In the first X-Men movie, you see a young Magneto during the Holocaust. His mother's being taken away from him by the Nazis, and this is where he first finds out that he has the power to control magnetism, and he, like, bends that fence. Something that I think would have been really kind of cool is have the first film in your prequel trilogy open up with a young Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine. Him and his mother are slaves, and then they
discovering that he has the Force.
Yeah, they're being separated, and then, like, a young Anakin Skywalker chokes the person who's trying to hurt his mother with his Force power.
Okay.
And that's it. That's the only time you see him, and then it jumps ahead to years later, and it's an older Anakin Skywalker. Okay. And I think the issue is also, the original trilogy was so freaking iconic, but I think people gave Lucas too much credit for that. Yes, he came up with the ideas, and he is the one who created Star Wars for all intents and purposes, but people helped him. Honestly, he needed a collaborator on these movies. He needed somebody to really help him with these scripts.
Yeah.
Imagine how good this could have been
if, agree, like, 100%.
The people behind, like, Empire Strikes Back were taken the reins with this.
Yeah.
Because Empire Strikes Back is, of all the Star Wars movies, is the one that Lucas had the least involvement with.
Yep.
And ironically, it turned out to be
the best one.
Yeah.
And still holds up to this day. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because if you watch the behind the scenes in the prequels and compare them to the behind the scenes to the original trilogy, I also recommend checking out the Mr. Plinkett reviews at redlettermedia.com. They pretty much emphasize, they showcase like the difference in styles too. But yeah, pretty much echoing what you said. Pretty much George Lucas had a bunch of yes men surrounding him during the production of the prequels, and apparently it's a joke in the Red Letter Media review, but they literally say it in the documentaries behind the scenes that Lucas pretty much wrote out all the drafts in like one single draft without anybody looking at it or anything, and just turned it in and said, then they just said, let's go with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you see all the problems with what we got.
But I think the issue also is a lot of the people who worked with Lucas on this movie are probably people who grew up with the original trilogy. So they're basically working with their idol.
Yeah,
are you going to tell your idol no?
Yes. I would.
I know, but that's... I'll admit I have not seen the whole thing of the documentary, but I saw the footage where they're doing a screening, the first, like, cut of...
And George Lucas is like, oh, what have I done?
Like, I'll give him that credit. He at least kind of admits in that he fucked up.
But then he totally contradicts himself by saying, my new vision is bold and everything.
Yeah,
like,
and
trying to convince himself in his head that it's actually a good idea with what he did.
And you know what's really...
It's poetry, sort of like it rhymes.
And you know what's really, really funny about that footage? Admittedly, I haven't seen all of it, but... I saw the little clip of him talking with his editor and his producer about that, and it's right before he says that.
Yep.
And literally, his editor and his producer look like they're ready to kill him.
Yeah, because even the editor is like, there are like certain scenes that you just can't take out because it just would fuck with the tone completely and everything. And they were, again, going back to Jar Jar Binks, but like, they're like, you go dark when Anakin comes back, and then you go slightly comedic with Jar Jar and everything. It's just everything that's been talked about on the internet. You could see them talking about it in the documentary, and it's like they still went with it. And now this is what we got, and it just continues to go downhill.
Yeah, fucking.
And the thing is, the worst part is that not even the worst part. Like the prequels. It's kind of like the Star Wars franchise, just like, so you hit the high point of the hill. The prequels is like the start of the descent down into madness. That is the Star Wars franchise now.
Okay, there are a few things I do want to point out about this movie that I kind of like. I do, while it's overly choreographed, I do like the lightsaber duel between Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even though it's overly choreographed, it's still pretty freaking awesome.
I mean, I'll admit, I'm a fanboy towards Darth Maul.
I like
Darth Maul, but the thing is, take away the Attack of the Clones series, and he literally his personality and character is a lightsaber. That's why we love him so much. It's because, oh my god, he has two lightsabers jammed together. Oh my god, awesome. And just the way he fought, too. Yeah, but it's just a unique designed character with very minor character traits. And it becomes more badass afterwards. And that's what kind of...
After he apparently died. I know when they explain how he comes back. Well, and then, of course, in Solo he comes back. But that's the thing, it's like... They could have gotten away with having Darth Maul be like a two-dimensional bad guy in this, but then kept him alive and made him the villain for the next two movies, and then expanded his character more. I don't know how long we are into this, but we didn't even explain the fucking plot.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Do you want to take the reins with this? Because I'm going to have a difficult time really explaining the plot.
I will admit, I will probably have just as much difficulty as you would.
Okay,
I'll give it a shot.
Alright.
So, pretty much what happens is that the movie starts off with Jedi talking about a trade dispute on Naboo because the Trade Federation has created a blockade on the planet, preventing any supplies getting in. They're basically the Trade Federation has decided to suffocate the Naboo, and it's like sort of a key part of the politics republic and everything, but not really, because they eventually save the princess and bring her to Coruscant in order for her
She's
to
not a princess, she's a queen.
She's whatever. She's a queen princess. She's the Princess Leia role, pretty much. But she gets sent to the Jedi save her, and they get sent to Coruscant because they have to basically explain to the Senate that this is happening to our planet. No one's helping us. We need help. Please help us. In the meantime, though, before that happens, they make a pit stop to Tatooine because their ship gets damaged when they try to escape. That's where they come across Anakin. Darth Maul first clashes with Qui-Gon Jinn. Pretty much the two Jedi. There's Qui-Gon Jinn, who's the Jedi Master. Obi-Wan is a trainee. And so that whole thing. Then they fly to Coruscant. Queen Amidala makes her case to the Senate. And the Senate pretty much decides we're going to investigate because we're not sure if the Queen is lying or not, because the testimony of a Queen is apparently not good enough for the Senate to act on this. So pretty much the Queen puts in a vote of no confidence towards Chancellor Valorum, who loses his power, and then Palpatine rises to head.
Now, I want to point out Palpatine. It's not revealed till the third movie, but we're going to say it right here. Senator Palpatine,
all the events that happened in these three movies.
Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Senator Palpatine is Darth Sidious, but they try to hide it.
Yes.
Yet, here's the thing. Palpatine is played by Ian McDiarmid. Ian McDiarmid played the Emperor in Return of the Jedi. I wonder if there's a connection between these two characters.
But it's not even that. Like, he's dressed exactly the same as he is in Return of the Jedi, minus all the, lightning to the face and everything. And on top of that, again, I reiterate, literally all the events that happened, supposedly, in 1, 2, and 3, Palpatine planned it to a T. Like, he knew all of this was going to happen.
Now, you could argue, since he's Force sensitive, like, maybe he foresaw a lot of this.
He planned it to a T. But he saw everything. Like, he has observation hockey on a freaking million. Anime reference. But yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to say that if they didn't try to do it as some dumbass twist when anybody with half a brain can see it coming, the story is actually... The idea is good, though. The idea of this corrupt politician creating a crisis to rise politically. Like, that is a compelling story. The issue is...
This is the prequel, so I don't even think... To be honest with you, I don't even think it was intentionally done to mislead the audience. Because, again, just like you said, like, if you somewhat paid attention and you know the actor's playing that character, it's him. It's essential to the story. So you can't really say, like, he's playing it up because, he's trying to... he thinks that the audience is stupid. He's trying to make... Even though it is obvious, he's at least trying to make it somewhat interesting. Because the audience is going in already knowing, I would assume.
All right.
To be fair... To be devil's advocate a little bit, but still, I think it's still really far-fetched that Palpatine planned... Pretty much, Palpatine wrote the scripts to all these three of these movies.
Yeah. Should we bring up Midi-chlorians?
Yes, we should, I think. It's pretty important.
Okay. In the movie, they give a scientific explanation for the Force.
Yes.
Now, with the original trilogy, I always took it that the Force was essentially God. Like, it was a stand-in for God. It was this living, possibly sentient force that holds the universe together and possibly even set the universe in motion.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's God, and, like, when you die, or at least when Jedis die... your soul becomes one with this Force.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like God. So that's what I've always assumed, is that the Force is God, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But no, in this one they give a scientific explanation. It's these microscopic organisms that exist inside your bloodstream, and it's like...
Yeah.
Okay, if I maybe Lucas was trying to go for, okay, the Force is still supernatural, but maybe the Midi-chlorians allow you to be sensitive to the Force.
It allows you to tap into... I guess the Midi-chlorians is the connection that makes you be able to be Force sensitive.
Yeah, but still, it just came off as...
Yeah.
To me, it came off as very disingenuous to the mythology that was set up in that original trilogy.
Yeah, it's just one of those decisions where you scratch your head because it's like, you don't really need an The Force was explained perfectly in the original trilogy, in my opinion. The Midi-chlorians wasn't really needed.
Over-reliance on CGI in this movie. One of the things I love about the original trilogy is just, you look at some of the practical effects in those movies, the set decoration, it's so gorgeous. And here, nearly everything was shot in front of a blue screen.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say there's no heart to it whatsoever. I'm not going to say doing that is not, like, work.
There's a lot of effort put into it. Definitely doesn't have the same feel, though.
Yeah. And there is some practical effects in this movie. Like, Yoda is actually a puppet in this movie.
Yeah.
And I will argue that Yoda looks pretty damn good in this when you see him as a puppet.
Yep. No, I agree.
I just wish they kept that Yoda puppet for the other... Granted, what they had Yoda do in the other two movies, I get why they didn't use him as a puppet.
They kind of had to, but yeah.
But also, not for nothing, a lot of the CGI effects do not hold up well today. Some of them do, but some of them it's like, no, that's pretty fucking fake looking.
I think I disagree with that. I think the CGI holds up fine. It's just, like you said, it's just the overabundance of it.
In the movie, you find out that Anakin Skywalker has no father.
Well, his Midi-chlorians.
Shut the F up for a second. They were clearly trying to play it off as basically a metaphor for Jesus Christ.
The chosen one, yeah.
Yeah, his mother was a virgin who gave birth to a child. Yeah. And essentially, you could say the Force was his father. And I thought that was interesting, but I don't think it was handled well. But I thought it was interesting how it was done. But I think it's interesting how he's like the chosen one, yet he ends up becoming basically the Antichrist if you really stop to think about it.
Well,
if
yeah,
you want to go with all the
thing.
biblical metaphors here.
That is the interesting thing about it. Because he technically, even with the choices that he made, he still sort of creates balance to the Force, where it's, 2 Jedi remaining, 2 Sith remaining, balance. That's technically the theory how it goes.
We should probably save that discussion for when we talk about Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, but just to get, just to mention it, because that is the whole point of it.
So now I'm going to cut to a few of the short reviews that some of my friends did on this movie, and then when we come back, we're going to attempt to talk about this movie a little bit more, I guess.
So Star Wars was a cultural phenomenon with the first 3 great movies. They were amazing, don't get me wrong. And then they had all the books, and the video games, and the comics, and a lot of lore. And people were wondering, you got episode 4, 5, and 6. What happened to 1, 2, and 3? And so it was a dream for a lot of people that they'd make a prequel trilogy. Unfortunately, people's dreams came true, but it's unfortunately more of a nightmare rather than a dream. God, it's really bad. It's really bad. Like, I'm depressed thinking about it. Obviously, George Lucas took the helms really for these movies, the prequel movies. He added a lot more CGI. Well, we added CGI thinking it was the way of the future, but honestly, it's super outdated now. It looks like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where you have some live action, you have some cartoon stuff. It doesn't age well. I guess the action's a bit cooler if I'm praising anything from the prequels. The lightsaber flips and stuff were cool. Darth Maul looked cool. I don't think he's a cool character, but he looked cool. The worlds were not... I don't know, they're not nearly as memorable as the ones from the original trilogy, plus they just looked fake. Jar Jar Binks, we all know him. No one loves him, not even his own mother. Terrible character. I mean, he was probably just a typical side character from one of those Disney animated films or one of those generic fantasy movies. But it's a problem when you have some character, some annoying character making poop jokes in your Star Wars movie. Star Wars was a big deal. It still is a big deal, and they made Episode 1. The kid actor who played little Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, little Annie, he was terrible. I mean, Liam Neeson tried. The kid was annoying. The actor never acted again and became, I think, schizophrenic and disturbed. I don't blame him. Pretty bad movie. So it didn't really do anything besides tarnish the franchise completely. And even if you go like Disney, they'll try to undermine the prequels. They won't even try to pay much attention to it, but then they will bring some stuff up. So this forever has tarnished the Star Wars name.
Here we go with Phantom Menace. Look, there's no way you can kind of restate this movie's sort of its controversial nature. I mean, it's been said so many times how like it was just a huge disappointment and why it like just pissed so many people off. I'll go on the good merits of it. It introduced Darth Maul, which I think if you watch Clone Wars, you know he became like one of the better, more like rich and kind of better characterized people in the franchise. And it's funny because he dies here. And then you get like this sort of whacked out explanation for why he's alive. And it works, surprisingly. That whole lightsaber battle between the three of them, I mean, that is like one of the craziest, awesome sequences of the franchise. So that's kind of tough to hate on, admittedly. You know, a lot of people hate Jake Lloyd as young Anakin. And I see why. But at the same time, you know, it is Anakin as a young kid. So as much as his giddiness feels kind of out of place, at the time it was more because like, really, man, this kid is going to grow up to become Darth Vader. I think that was the perception towards it, you know, that people really could not believe that this kid was going to become the Dark Lord of the Sith. But I mean, you know, he plays it straight, sort of. He plays it as, you know, how you would imagine like a giddy kid who like can build his own pod and can like actually like fly his own ship. You know, it makes sense. Obi-Wan, perfect choice with Ewan. He really does look like a young Alec Guinness as time goes on. Liam Neeson in a Star Wars movie, how can you hate on that? Sam Jackson is Mace, love him, absolutely love him. Beyond that, yeah, just about everything else is just a huge pile of controversy. Maybe I keep hearing like such mixed shit about the pod race sequence. I personally still think it's awesome. A lot of people felt it dragged on forever. Fair enough, but I always had fun with it. And then Jar Jar, well, look, I like Ahmed. That's all I'm going to say. I think he's a very talented actor who unfortunately got stuck with a kind of what turned into be a shitty role. But, you know, he really gives it his all, and he has his heart in it. And you do feel kind of bad for the fact that, you know, this dude, his one contribution to the Star Wars universe is the one thing that everybody says is the worst thing to have ever happened to the Star Wars universe. So give Ahmed some love, and if you can, try to sit through Phantom Menace with as much of just sort of, you know, think outside the box with it, hopefully.
So, that leads me to the years later when they did the prequel trilogy. And I will admit, I've never been a huge fan of those prequels. I know it's almost cliche to say. I only saw each one of them once and never felt the need to see them again, so I may be talking a little less about them. But you know, I did go see The Phantom Menace, and I was excited because, you know, the original trilogy was such a big part of my childhood, and bringing it back, like, I was excited, and I ended up very disappointed. I found The Phantom Menace to be incredibly dull. Not that it wasn't well made necessarily, but I just thought the plot was very plodding and laborious, and I felt like I was suffering through the movie instead of really enjoying the movie. And I was surprised because all the thrilling adventure of the original trilogy I thought had been taken out, and they were doing some super serious, film where they were going to discuss, politics, and I just thought it was oddly boring, and there were actors in it. It was just full of actors I absolutely loved, and yet I thought they gave them nothing to play. I mean, it actually made Samuel L. Jackson boring, which I didn't think you could do. And I also think it might have been a mistake to get so many high-profile actors. Like in the original, trilogy, most of those people were not known. And that really gave them a chance to become those characters in your imagination. Like all these actors in the Phantom Menace that I know, it was almost a little distracting. And then, like I said, I didn't think they gave them anything interesting to do.
Yeah. When you watch like Phantom Menace, I never realized how like Jar Jar Binks was like so annoying. Obviously, that's cliche saying that, but it's really true. Just so annoying. You thought that like Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan were gonna lightsaber his head off.
Yeah.
Also, Qui-Gon Jinn's character, played by Liam Neeson, it's not really like his acting was terrible. There could have been like more to his character. It had potential, but they just didn't go into like detail with it. The pod racing scene was pretty cool, and I also liked Darth Maul, despite that there was not much of him in his background. But if you think about it, if they had, again, can I say a little spoiler?
Yeah, sure.
If they had kept him alive in the film, it could have been great for like the rest of the series to have Obi-Wan as a subplot where he's out for revenge to kill him for killing Qui-Gon in the first film.
Now we're going to talk about the acting in Phantom Menace.
Oh.
Maybe we should talk about Jake Lloyd first.
Have to?
Okay. He's fucking bad in this movie, but... And I'm not going to use he's a little kid, so that's the excuse. No, I mean, there's really no excuse for bad acting, but I do feel bad for him as a person, because unfortunately...
It fucked with his head.
Yeah,
my understanding.
The poor kid was bullied after this, and it caused him to quit acting, and also he was arrested a few years ago and then was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and I feel really bad for him as a person. So we're not going to attack Jake Lloyd as a person.
We'll just blame George Lucas instead, like we've been doing. I would like to say he tried.
Yeah, you know what?
I think he was trying.
Okay, let's...
To be fair.
Okay, you were basically right, though. He was doing what George Lucas told him to do.
Exactly, and George Lucas said, "Good job, kid."
Yeah. I was reading an article recently where Mark Hamill was actually pissed about how Jake Lloyd was treated after this movie.
I mean,
and Mark Hamill even outright said, hey, he was just doing what Lucas told him to do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what an actor does. I mean, look it's funny that you bring up Mark Hamill and talking about, like, The Last Jedi and how he was saying, like, to Rian Johnson, I just don't agree with your direction with my character. And then after, a couple months, he's just like, fine, I'm an acting monkey. Literally said that. And I'll do whatever. But yeah, actors are actors. They're paid to act. So, it's not necessarily... It's partially the actor's fault when you get a bad performance, yeah. But more blame, in my opinion, falls on the director. I don't mean to, like, throw, shit at George Lucas, but he deserves it. Like,
well, here's the thing also.
This is what happens when you decide to, be that guy,
Well, here's the thing also. Pretty much all the acting in this movie is pretty bad. I mean...
Yeah,
okay, Liam Neeson and
Ewan McGregor
are the two best performances in this movie, but their characters are blocks of wood. Even though Ewan McGregor's playing a character that we know, his character is still a block of wood in this movie.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Natalie Portman, I think, is a phenomenal actress. She's not very good in this movie.
Yeah, she's not utilized properly at all.
Yeah. But that's not her fault, because she's a great actress. It's more so...
It's again the script. Yeah, well, it's not just the directing; it's the script.
Yeah, it's like a bad script and a bad director can really make an actor look bad. I mean, look at Mark Wahlberg in The Happening. I mean, come on, he's terrible in that movie. But that's because of how M. Night directed him.
I did a review on that movie, by the way. I'm going to shamelessly plug that. But yeah, I agree 100%. Like, it makes good actors look terrible, and they make bad actors look worse. It's a freak. Yeah, because like you said, Qui-Gon Jinn is kind of pretty much monotone. Padme is standing in the background for most of the movie because she's the queen playing the decoy queen while also being the queen. So she's in the background for most of the time, and her decoy's making most of the decisions, which is baffling in on itself. It's like she's literally making like in the moment decisions, and it's like, don't you think she should talk to the actual queen before they make a direct decision?
Yeah.
She's talking to people directly, and she's like making executive decisions. It's like there's that, and then Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's pretty much a monotone extension of Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah.
Like, so frustrating.
Yeah.
There's so much potential with this stuff.
I do want to point out, though, that one of my favorite character actors, Warwick Davis, he played the Leprechaun in the Leprechaun movies, and he played Wicket in Return of the Jedi. He has actually 2 cameos in this movie. He plays some background character on Tatooine, but he also plays Baby Greedo. The alien that ended up getting shot in the dick by Han Solo in New Hope. Like, he plays the younger version of Greedo.
That's great.
Yeah.
Of course it was. He was an asshole from the start.
Alright guys, this is a little insert because it turns out that I fucked up. The other character that Warwick played in the movie was not Baby Greedo, it was just another alien of the same species. Now, Baby Greedo did appear in this movie, or was supposed to, but that was in a deleted scene, but it's not the same character. Sorry about that, once again, I fucked up. But yeah, both of those are played by Warwick Davis, who's an actor I like a lot. So that's nice, at least, that, an actor like that's in this movie.
That's good.
Frank Oz is good as Yoda. The puppeteering for Yoda's good.
It's Frank Oz. Goes without saying. But, yeah.
Isn't Keira Knightley in this movie?
I think she played the decoy. The decoy queen.
Yeah, this was probably before she actually, took off. But yeah, she's in this movie, too. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention Sam Jackson. This is the movie that managed to make Sam Jackson boring.
Not even that. We forgot to mention Sam Jackson. There's a movie that exists where critics or reviewers forgot to mention him in a movie.
Because he plays such a boring fucking freaking... I know there are some people who like Mace Windu. I'm like, he's just such a nothing character.
But, fun note, he did get the prop guys to put in bad motherfucker on his purple lightsaber.
Okay.
So, at least he did that. Too bad no one saw it, though.
Here's the problem, though. This is a Samuel Jackson movie, and he didn't get one motherfucker.
Well, it's not technically a Samuel Jackson. It's not a Sam Jackson movie, technically.
He's in it, so he owns it.
Sam Jackson's character, or Mace Windu, should have been a lot more aggressive. He should have been like the no-taking shit Jedi. Like, he should be like the go-to interrogator Jedi.
Well, here's the thing, like...
I don't think, like, every single Jedi should be, like, monotone, boring, and one, basically, one with nature and everything.
Or what they should have done is, if they wanted, like, Mace Windu to be sort of this, like, wise, like, reserved, like, character, they should have gotten, honestly, an old Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman could have played that well.
Or Danny Glover.
Yeah, like... So, Sam Jackson, he's just casted against type in this movie.
Yeah. Lucas kind of wrote himself in a bind there because the Jedi were just so dedicated to their religion, sort of. They're just so dedicated to their ways that, like, I don't know, because, like, it doesn't make any sense that Anakin seemed like the only Jedi that was kind of, like, rebelling against the Jedi system in a way. You know what I mean? And I feel like Mace Windu is like, again, because we're comparing it to Samuel L. Jackson, but I felt like Samuel L. Jackson, Mace Windu could have been like, the interrogator Jedi, you know, the go-to guy when they capture something. Like, he would have been... His role should have been expanded a little bit in during the Clone Wars, where, like, they capture, like, a droid and they bring in Mace Windu and he's, like, you know, somehow figuring out a way to torture him and things like that, maybe. Yeah. Maybe not even torture him, but, like, be, like, the no-nonsense, you know, bad motherfucking Jedi. You know, like,
I heard that
like
part of the reason why Samuel Jackson was in this was he was actually a huge Star Wars fan already, and he wanted to be in a Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. Do we have anything else to say about this movie? I mean, oh, I forgot to mention, though, another positive about this movie, we were talking about the lightsaber battle at the end. I will say John Williams' Duel of the Fates is actually a really damn good piece of music.
John Williams is mostly... The only consistently good thing throughout all these movies. He kind of saves the prequels single-handedly because his music is just that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you gave a shout out to John Williams there. Not like he needs it, but it's true though because the music is phenomenal in these movies. To be fair. But yeah. Is there anything else you have anything to say about the Phantom Menace?
You know,
menacing Phantom?
This is... I feel like there's a lot more we could say about it, but everything that's been said has already been said on, like, the internet by so many other people. Like, besides the Plinkett reviews, I also really recommend Chris Stuckman's reviews of these prequels. He did a really damn good job with that, but... I hope you guys like this. This was really more... I don't know if you would say this was more of a discussion than an actual review. It was more of a ramble-in discussion on how much this movie sucked. Real quick before I end this video, it turns out that we forgot to talk about how in the movie you find out that Anakin Skywalker built C-3PO. And I just want to say real quick that I thought that whole revelation was fucking retarded. But now I'm going to end this video with a short review that my friend Christian did on this movie that I would have played with the other short reviews that my friends did, but this one ended up being a little bit longer.
You often hear critics say, I have just come out of the theater, watched this amazing film, and that is why I love cinema. There are only a few times when I come out of the theater and I say that is why I hate cinema. And Phantom of the Opera, A Star Wars Story, Prequel 1, is one of those films that makes me feel that way. Now, I'm not going to rant. This is not going to be a rant. I'm not going to be screaming. I'm not going to be going crazy on camera, acting a fool. Because that would just be too much. That's why I'm using audio. So that way you can't see me just fuming and my face red and going crazy and wanting to just chew something. I'm not going to do that. Richard Pryor used to do this amazing thing where he would use the stereotypical white voice to make people laugh. Now, I was going to kind of do that and use the stereotypical nerd voice to do this review. Yeah, I'm not going to do that because that would be a performance. And this film does not deserve a performance because this film has no performances. Phantom Menace is just unbelievable when you look at it. There are no performances, there are no actors in this film, and I refuse to believe that there are any actual people in this film. I truly believe that George Lucas took cardboard cutouts, took Gorilla Glue, pasted the pictures of these actors' faces on the cardboard cutouts, told his crew, CG them up, and then took audio files from these actors in other films and just, synchronized them to kind of create, just kind of form it together the way they do with Tupac and Biggie, after they died. And they did that in order to get some kind of film out of this. Because there's no way in hell that I can believe that there are people in this film. Especially when you look at who's in it. Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman. Oscar-worthy actors. Now, yeah, we can say, they've done shitty films before. I get it. Ewan McGregor, for example, he did Angels and Demons, and that wasn't a great film. But at the same time, he gave a performance. He had emotion. He made you sympathize in some way with him in that film. He carried it a little bit, with what he had. Liam Neeson was in Taken 2, Taken 3. Those are crappy films. But he still was Liam Neeson. He did his job. He did a good job. Giving what he could with what he had. Natalie Portman, Thor: The Dark World, not a great film. It's not terrible. It's not Angels and Demons. It's not anything, like that. But, it's not a great film, and she still did her part. She still gave some kind of emotion, some kind of performance. In this film, these actors are like robots. It's just terrible to watch. And the only one who has, or is at least pretending to have some kind of emotion, is Jake Lloyd, and that's just cringeworthy. I mean, every 10 minutes with the yippies and the crap and it's just terrible. I can barely watch it. I have to skip over some scenes when I watch this film because it's just so bad. It's so nasty. I mean, me who's never been an actor, I've never gone to acting school, never been in a movie, never even tried to, get a job as a hot dog for some kind of restaurant. I can probably act better than this kid. Not to kick a guy while he's down, but yeah, he's just terrible. And it's sad to see that. It's just depressing to see that. And it's just terrible. I don't know. I hate this film to death. The story itself, boring. Nothing creative. I mean, it's a Jesus Christ story. What can I tell you? Another virgin birth, how many times has that been done before? Especially by this time, by the time this movie came out. It's just ridiculous. And then they have the balls to go and say, oh, you know what? It was a virgin birth, but there's actually some science behind this, midi-chlorians and all that. That'd be like if Mel Gibson went with Passion of the Christ and somebody told Mary, the reason why Jesus can walk on water is because you have this gene inside of you that you passed on to him, and now, scientifically his feet kind of form with the water in a way that allows him to stand on it. And no, that would just be fucking stupid. And I'm not gonna, it's terrible. And I know I said I wasn't gonna rant, and I'm not gonna rant. I promise I'm not gonna rant. Okay, relax. Calm down. Nombre Padre, Hijo y el Espíritu Santo. Usa. Okay, I'm good. It's just a bad film overall. The CG is crap. It always has been crap. I guess you don't really notice it when you're a kid. But nowadays you look at it, you're like, yeah, this is a video game. And I wish that Disney, who now has the rights to these films, would say, okay, we have these video games, let's remake them. Let's do them again. Let's make them better. Let's put them on the quality of the new films. Get J.J. Abrams, get whoever, to just get a computer for all I care to direct this film. Because I think even a computer could do better than George Lucas did. And let's just remake them. Get new actors, write a new script, fix it up a little bit, take out the midi-chlorians, take out Jar Jar Binks, who I'm not even going to get into because, it's just obvious why Jar Jar Binks is bad. It just is, so I'm not going to get into that. Let's do the politics, because I like the politics. I don't mind the politics in Star Wars. But let's just do a better job with it. Kind of tell it in a way that doesn't make it seem like people are just whining about taxes. Yeah, let's just not do that. And make a better film out of this one. At least this one. The other two would be nice to remake also, but, let's test the waters. Let's remake Phantom Menace, see what people think. People like it, we continue. We do a remake of Clone Wars, and we remake Return of the Sith. Actually, it's Revenge of the Sith. And that's it. And then there you go. We just forget that these films even existed, and we all go on with our merry lives. But let's see, because I know Disney's having a little trouble as well. Overall, yeah, this is a terrible film. I don't recommend this to anybody. I don't even recommend this to kids. Don't show your kids this. If you're gonna show them Star Wars, show them the old movies. Show them the new movies. Show them the cartoon, the Clone Wars cartoon that came on Cartoon Network. Have them read a comic book, play a video game, something like that. Read a book. Don't watch these films. These films just need to go away and just disappear. They're just terrible. This first one. I don't mean to spoil the other two reviews, but you kind of see where I'm going. Phantom Menace is just garbage. They always say that the one redeeming factor is Darth Maul. No, it isn't. Darth Maul was a piece of shit as well. Didn't really have anything to do. When the lines were being said, it was like he was reading off of a teleprompter off screen. And then they have the balls to kill him. They cut him in half, throw him down a garbage chute, so it's like, waste of time. And yeah, it's depressing. It's just depressing as a Star Wars fan to see this piece of shit. And so I don't recommend this film. Avoid it at all costs. Just even drunk. Don't even watch it drunk. There's no point. You'll just get depressed. It's just, piece of garbage. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to this review. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Christian for allowing me to be in this review. I appreciate it greatly. These are things that I just wanted to get off my chest. And thank you guys so much for listening.